Investing in the right classic car requires a clear understanding of key criteria, thorough research, and careful due diligence. Rarity plays a major role with limited production runs enhancing a car's value. However, lesser-known rare models, such as the 1964 to 1967 Gordon Keeble, can also gain value due to scarcity and unique features. Condition is also important. Originality, low mileage, and regular maintenance increase worth, while proper storage and documentation add credibility. Historical significance adds value too. Cars connected to iconic events or personalities, such as the Aston Martin DB5 from James Bond films, often command high prices. Finally, market demand influences worth, with interest in American muscle cars and European brands like Porsche and Aston Martin remaining strong. Thorough due diligence involves studying market trends, verifying documentation, and engaging experts for inspection. Budget planning, including maintenance and potential restoration, ensures a sustainable investment approach, potentially yielding both financial returns and personal satisfaction. Philip, when your clients come to you, do they already know what they want to buy, or are you advising them on key factors to look for when they're trying to choose a classic car?
It's probably a little bit of both. I think in a lot of cases, people will come to me with an idea of what they want, but a need for more information, maybe a little education on what the range of prices are, why they are that way, what hidden costs could be associated with the acquisition of a car. Very rare for someone to come in and say, hey, I don't own anything. I don't know what to buy, and I need you to advise me on that. There is the usual question of where are they going? What should I sell in my collection? What should I get rid of? And what should I add? And those questions are becoming frequent right now, as we've seen a trend towards a younger, enthusiastic buyer. People are wondering if their 60s era cars are going to be worth anything 10 years from now. So it's a lot of going back and forth with in regards to consult for people's collections, and then finding cars for them. They usually know what they want, but I come in and help them to better understand the values and where they might be and the total cost of that.
Makes sense. Leslie, what characteristics should a novice investor look for in a classic car to really maximize its future value?
Value can be measured in a couple of ways. There's use value, there's enjoyment, there's investment value. It depends on what the person wants out of it. If they want it just as a pure investment, I think you're going to look at a car with high quality, high performance, high style, initially a high price, which all of that keeps it very rare. So all of those characteristics kind of typically contribute to the value of a vehicle. If you're going to use it, you're going to want a car that's a little bit approachable, something that maybe you can fix yourself, or at least get fixed by people whose numbers you have on speed dial.
And it's kind of generational, right? You tend to see like certain cars popular, and then it kind of peaks, and then because people are getting older and they tend to want to collect cars that are meaningful to them and something like that they remember in their youth, then that starts getting popular. Is there a way to try to stay ahead of the curve a little bit?
No. Well, you can try. It does come in waves, though. And what's interesting for me to notice is that you would think that brass era, London to Brighton era cars are not that desirable, but I know plenty of 20 and 30 somethings who crave them, who participate in events like that. They appreciate, not necessarily that they can get around on them, they just appreciate the mechanical artistry about them and the experience of that kind of primitive motoring. It all feeds into everything feeds into everything else. It just depends on what your tolerance is.
And Andrew, are there particular markets or regions where investing in classic cars can be more lucrative?
I think you probably want to be in the areas where you've got the sort of biggest bases of collectors. So that's really Europe and North America, and there's a lot of collectors in South Africa, but that's a slightly more isolated market. So yeah, you want to be where all the restorers are, all the dealers are. Those are the good places to go. But I think, referring back to your last question, how do you sort of predict what the next wave of popular cars is? You probably want to be looking at the posters on sort of kids' bedroom walls, because what we're seeing now is, some of the cars from the 80s, the cars from Miami Vice, the Lamborghinis, some of those really cool Mercedes, and BMW rally cars. Those were the sort of posters that people my age might have had on the wall. They didn't have posters of E-types or the sort of 1960s Ferraris. And the 1960s cars aren't doing so well now, but the sort of 80s supercars, some of those Lamborghinis are actually going up more in value than other cars. So yeah, have a look at what's on the wall, of your kids' bedrooms.
Leslie, you mentioned the influence of pop culture, so you must agree.
Well, I do. I can't help but agree. I think that we just by paying attention and by staying alert to what other people consider important is interesting. We always wanted what we couldn't have when we were in high school, and by the time you hit your stride when in your 40s and 50s and 60s, you have the resources to indulge those dreams.
Do you recognize any trends happening right now?
The JDM, the Japanese domestic market, is really, really hot because that's what a lot of people remember. 20 years ago, the thought of collecting a Japanese vehicle was a little bit foreign to a lot of people. But now those are the cars that they're used. Those are the Supras and the reaching back a little bit farther, the 240Zs. I mean, find me a 1970 240Z in marvelous shape, and I'll be all over it. Before that, it was a 2000 GT Toyota, but there's some wonderful things coming out that are rekindling some fantastic memories for people, and that are now very desirable to them.
I want to ask a question to all three of you. I'll start with Leslie. How should investors balance personal passion with financial prudence when they're evaluating classic cars?
I think another factor is what you're capable of doing. If you can fix your own car, then that kind of helps skew the financial part of it in your favor, because you don't have to have it repaired by somebody else. But it's all up to you. If you rather live in an apartment and drive a Ferrari, have at it. If you want to have an 8-bedroom house on a hill and in Brentwood, and not that driving a Toyota is going to enable you to do that, but that's a choice you get to make.
So yeah, have your priorities. Philip, buy what you love versus what will make financial sense in 10 years.
Usually they go hand in hand. I think the likelihood of you holding onto a car 10 plus years that you don't love is pretty unlikely. I have found most of my success in the investing side of the business in buying what I like, and buying it at prices that I can't believe that I'm able to buy this car at this price, and I love it. I love everything about it. I take care of it personally, and so I think there's a don't put yourself in a risky position where you might have to sell the car before you want, but always buy what you love. And if you can, always buy the best that you can afford as well. And that comes to rarity, production, options, and then the condition of the car. There's no value, in my opinion, in the car community. Everyone wants to buy the cheapest version possible. They're cheap because they were poorly maintained. They have problems. They've been repainted, and you'll learn that through ownership, and it won't be fun. It's a horrible experience. So
yeah, it's interesting. Everybody has a different approach there, because there are those who just want to buy like the best examples of cars, and then we've had Ed Bolian on the show in the past, and he's looking for those like nightmare stories. Was in an accident, was owned by a drug dealer, and then he wants to restore it, but he bought it at like a dirt cheap price.
Yeah, he's the exception, I would say.
Andrew, what are your thoughts?
I think you've got to find somebody that you trust to help you, because I've seen examples of cars that looked amazing on the surface, but when you sort of chipped away, half the bodywork is full of filler and they've been restored really, really badly. So unless you've got a really good eye yourself and you're really knowledgeable, you need to have somebody who you trust, who will, steer you in the right direction. But you don't have to spend a huge amount of money these days. Sometimes the cars that are really rare now aren't necessarily the cars you would expect to be rare, because a lot of the cars, maybe from my childhood, the 80s, the 70s, or whatever, they were mass produced, but no one, they've all fallen by the wayside, and there might not actually be many examples of them left. Like my mum had a Renault 4. I don't know if anyone ever saw that in the US, but it was like this sort of traditional sort of French curvy little car. Millions of them on the road then, but now actually there's very, very few of them. And if you see them now, the values are starting to go up. So if you've got really good examples of what were quite commonplace cars 20, 30, 40 years ago, actually there's now demand for them. They're never going to be worth millions, but they might double in value from what they're worth now. Another car over in Europe, I don't know if you had it in America, was the sort of Peugeot 205 GTI, little hot hatch, but now they're worth a fortune because there's not many of them in good condition left. When I was young, it was a $10,000 car maybe, but yeah, they go for lots of money. So you don't have to look at the really high levels of the market to find something that's going to be fun and going to increase in value.
That's a popular car being imported into the US by people like me, who I just sold a really I bought one sight unseen, and it was not a great one, but I still loved driving it.
But they were super fun to drive.
Yeah, great cars. There's fun. There's fun at every price point. Anyone can pick select a great example and make money on it. You don't need to buy the GTOs and the Shelbys and whatnot. Shelbys haven't gone anywhere for 10 years anyways, but yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in on this selection process?
The one thing I will say, just going back to the trends right now, being of the age group that is buying my poster cars, I would also be careful of following too closely to the hot trend right now. I am probably cooling on all of the cars that were on my posters. I've owned them already. I've sold them to other buyers who are seeking these cars out. And the difficulty to find these cars, they've all been imported already, or a lot of them have. They've been found in Japan. There used to be, a currency exchange where you could buy into Japan for these JDM cars. That's almost disappeared. So what I'm looking at is when people say the 60s are dead, I'm looking at 60s era cars, because I want to buy the cars that people think are dead and never coming back. And they're definitely going to continue to appreciate. And I'm talking about the 90s and 2000 era cars. They will continue the large trend upwards. But I would caution against buying the hottest car out right now, because generally that has just appreciated wildly. So
great advice.
Yeah.
Well, everyone stay tuned, because in segment 5, we're going to try to find out what these guys are buying next. I missed the message on the screen. Let's go to segment 3. We're going to talk about maintenance and care.